The moment I chose a stranger's kiss over my wife's trust and my children's love, a story of betrayal that destroyed 8 years of family, leaving me alone with regret and the haunting reality of what I lost forever. I knew I was destroying my life the second I kissed her. Standing in that hotel hallway at 2 a.m., tasting someone else's lipstick while my wife slept at home with our 2 kids, I felt my stomach drop like I'd just stepped off a cliff. But I didn't stop. That's the thing about betrayal, once you cross that line, you tell yourself you might as well make it count. Sarah and I had been together for 8 years, married for 5. She was the kind of woman other guys envied me for, smart, loyal, beautiful in that effortless way that made me feel lucky every morning. We had Jake, 7, and Emma, 4. Perfect little family. Perfect house. A perfect life that I was about to torch because I convinced myself I deserved more. The affair started 3 months earlier with LinkedIn messages. Melissa worked in marketing at a company we partnered with. Blonde, ambitious, the kind of woman who wore power suits and made everything sound like a challenge. She'd comment on my posts, laugh at my jokes during video calls. Harmless, right? Just professional networking. My buddies at work started noticing. "Dude, she's totally into you," they'd say. "You're married, not dead." They'd show me her Instagram stories, trips to Cabo, wine bars, gym selfies. "Look what you're missing out on," they'd joke. But the joke started feeling real. I told myself Sarah had gotten comfortable. She wore yoga pants to dinner. She fell asleep during movies. She talked about school fundraisers and grocery lists instead of dreams. When did we stop talking about anything that mattered? When did I stop feeling like the man she fell in love with? The lies came so easily that it scared me. Late meeting. Client dinner. Networking event. Sarah would just nod, kiss my cheek, and ask if I'd eaten. She trusted me completely. That trust felt like a weight around my neck and a green light at the same time. Melissa made me feel alive again. She'd text me during Jake's baseball games, make me laugh while I was helping Emma with puzzles. She listened when I complained about feeling trapped, nodded when I said I'd married too young. "You deserve someone who sees your potential," she'd whisper during our lunch meetings that turned into afternoon hotel visits. I stopped seeing my kids. They became obstacles between me and my phone. Jake would want to throw the ball, and I'd be checking messages. Emma would climb into my lap for stories, and I'd be distracted, going through the motions. Sarah would try to plan date nights, and I'd find excuses. I was physically present but emotionally gone, living for stolen moments with someone who barely knew me. Night Sarah found out, I'd gotten careless. Left my phone unlocked on the kitchen counter while I put Emma to bed. I came downstairs to find Sarah sitting at our dining table, my phone in her hands, reading months of messages. She didn't look up when I walked in. "How long?" she asked, her voice steady as stone. I wanted to lie, to minimize, to explain. Instead, I just stood there, watching 8 years crumble in real time. 3 months. The words came out like a confession in court. She nodded slowly, still staring at the phone. "Get out. Not we need to talk. Not how could you do this? Just get out," delivered with the kind of finality that turns your toes to ice. I tried to speak, to beg, to promise it meant nothing. She held up her hand without looking at me. I said, "Get out. The kids don't need to see this." That's when I knew. She wasn't going to fight for us. She wasn't going to scream or throw things or give me a chance to grovel my way back. She was done. Completely, irrevocably done. I packed a bag while she sat in the kitchen, making a list. I could see her writing: lawyer, bank, kids' school. She was already 10 steps ahead, already protecting herself and our children from me. The last thing I saw was Emma's drawing on the refrigerator, our family as stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. By tomorrow, that drawing would be a lie. By next week, it would be in the trash. I drove to a motel, my hands shaking, calling Melissa. It went straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. By the 3rd try, I realized she wasn't going to answer. The thrill was gone. The fantasy was over. Reality was a cheap motel room and the hollow knowledge that I'd just lost everything that mattered for something that was never real. The papers arrived 5 days later. Not just divorce papers, custody papers, restraining orders, financial disclosures. Sarah wasn't playing games. She'd hired the best lawyer in town, the one who specialized in protecting families from predatory spouses. I Googled him. His website was full of testimonials from women who'd reclaimed their lives from cheating husbands. I called Sarah 16 times that first week. She'd changed her number by the 2nd week. The kids' school called to inform me I'd been removed from their emergency contact list. My gym membership was cancelled, joint account. My name disappeared from the mortgage, the insurance, and the parent-teacher conference schedules. It was like Sarah was erasing me from existence with surgical precision. My buddies from work suddenly got quiet when I walked into meetings. HR called me in for a friendly chat about workplace conduct. Melissa had filed a complaint, claiming I'd made unwanted advances and created a hostile work environment. The same woman who'd been texting me about hotel rooms was now painting me as a predator. "She's covering her," my lawyer explained. "Making sure this can't affect her career. It's pretty smart." Smart. That's what I got for throwing away my marriage, a case, and a woman who'd weaponized our affair the moment it became inconvenient. The worst part was the kids. Sarah let me have supervised visits every other weekend, 2 hours at a time, at a community center with a social worker watching. Jake, my 7-year-old who used to beg me to pitch baseballs until dark, barely looked at me. Emma, who used to run to the door screaming "Daddy's home," would hide behind the social worker. "Why don't you live with us anymore?" Emma asked during our third visit. The social worker's pen stopped moving. This was it, the moment I had to explain to my 4-year-old that Daddy had destroyed their family because he wanted to feel important. "Mommy and Daddy made different choices," I said, the words tasting like ash. "Did you choose the lady over us?" Jake asked, his voice small but sharp. Too smart for his good. I couldn't answer. The social worker made a note. 2 weeks later, my visits were reduced to once a month. My brother stopped returning my calls. My sister unfriended me on Facebook. My parents, who'd loved Sarah like their own daughter, made it clear whose side they were on. "We raised you better than this," my mother said, the disappointment in her voice cutting deeper than anger would have. The loneliness was crushing. I'd come home to my 1-bedroom apartment, eat takeout in front of the TV, and scroll through Sarah's social media from fake accounts. She'd changed her profile picture, just her and the kids at the beach. I wasn't cropped out of old photos, it was like I'd never existed at all. She looked happy. That was the knife twist. Not bitter, not broken, happy. Lighter. Like removing me from her life had been a relief, not a loss. I tried dating apps, tried bars, tried anything to fill the silence. But every woman I met reminded me what I'd given up. They were strangers. They didn't know that Jake was afraid of thunderstorms or that Emma liked her pancakes into stars. They didn't know that Sarah hummed while she folded laundry or that she cried during dog movies. They were just people. Not my people. I started therapy, thinking I could fix whatever was broken in me and somehow win my family back. Dr. Patterson was kind but direct. "What did you think would happen?" he asked during our 5th session. "I don't know. I thought I could have both." "Both what?" "The excitement and the stability. The thrill and the safety net." He leaned back in his chair. "That's not how trust works. You can't betray someone and expect them to keep trusting you. You can't abandon your family and expect them to wait around for you to come back." 6 months after that night at the kitchen table, I saw Sarah at Jake's school play. She was in the 3rd row with her sister and parents. They'd saved her a seat, but it wasn't for me. I stood in the back, watching my son deliver his lines while his family, my former family, cheered him on. After the show, Jake ran to Sarah first. Then to his grandparents. His aunt. He saw me standing there and gave a polite wave, like I was a distant acquaintance. Not like I was the man who'd taught him to ride a bike. That night, I sat in my car outside their house, our old house. The lights were on. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. Family game night, probably. Emma would be cheating at Monopoly. Jake would be making deals with his mother. Sarah would be laughing at something ridiculous that one of them said. They were a complete family without me. They didn't need me to be whole. That's when I finally understood what I'd done. I hadn't just cheated on my wife. I'd abandoned my children. I'd chosen a fantasy over reality, and now reality had moved on without me. 2 years later, I saw the engagement announcement on social media. Sarah was marrying David, a pediatrician she'd met at Emma's doctor's appointment. The photo showed him kneeling in our old backyard while Jake and Emma held a banner that said, "Will you marry our mom?" Our kids. Calling another man their potential stepdad. They looked happier than they ever looked in those supervised visits with me. I stared at that photo for an hour, studying David's face. He looked kind. Stable. The type of man who would never choose a hotel room over bedtime stories. The type of man I used to be, before I decided I deserved more. The wedding was small, from what I heard through mutual friends who still spoke to me. Just family and close friends. I wasn't invited. But Jake and Emma were in the wedding party. Emma was the flower girl. Jake walked his mother down the aisle. My children had front row seats to their mother's second chance at happiness, while I watched from the outside like a stranger peering through windows at a life I used to live. The child support payments were automatic, withdrawn from my paycheck before I even saw it. $500 a month that might as well have been sent to the moon for all the connection it bought me. I was a walking ATM to kids who used to fight over who got to sit next to me at dinner. I dated occasionally, but every relationship ended the same way. Women would ask about my kids, and I'd have to explain that I saw them once a month, if that. They'd ask why, and I'd have to tell the truth, that I'd chosen an affair over my family. Most would go quiet after that. The ones who didn't were usually carrying their damage, and damaged people don't build healthy relationships. Work became my life. I into projects, worked weekends, and traveled constantly. Not because I loved it, but because it was better than going home to an empty apartment where the silence reminded me of everything I'd lost. My friends moved on. Got promotions, bought houses, took family vacations. I stayed stuck in a loop: work, gym, Netflix, sleep. Repeat. The life of a man who'd chosen excitement over stability and ended up with neither. Last month, I got a call from Jake's school. He'd won the science fair. They were required to call both parents, even though I hadn't been involved in the project. Congratulations, Mr. Thompson, the teacher said. Jake's proud of his volcano. I wanted to ask about it, to hear details, to feel connected to this small moment in my son's life. But what right did I have? David probably helped him with the research. Sarah probably drove him to buy supplies. I was just a name on paperwork, a mandatory phone call. Thank you for letting me know, I said, and hung up. I tried to picture Jake explaining his project to the judges, his face lighting up the way it used to when he showed me his drawings. But I couldn't see it anymore. My memories of my children were frozen in time while they grew up without me. Sometimes I drive by their house. Not to stalk or intrude, just to see life continuing without me. David's car is in the driveway. Bikes in the yard. A tire swing that wasn't there when I lived there. Evidence of a family that's moved forward, healed, and become something new. I realize now that I never really lost Sarah and the kids in that hotel hallway. I'd already lost them months before, the first time I chose someone else's attention over their love. The affair was just the final signature on a decision I'd been making every day, to prioritize my ego over their trust, my fantasies over their reality, my wants over their needs. The worst part isn't the loneliness or the shame or the regret. The worst part is knowing that my children are better off without me, and that I'm the one who made that true. I turned myself into the father they deserve to be protected from, and their mother was strong enough to do exactly that. People talk about learning from mistakes, about second chances, about redemption arcs. But some choices don't come with do-overs. Some trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt. Some families, once destroyed, can't be reassembled with apologies and good intentions. I am a cautionary tale that walks and breathes, and pays child support. I am proof that you can have everything you ever wanted and throw it away for nothing at all. I am the answer to the question, what if you choose the affair? And the answer is that you lose everything that matters, forever. The affair lasted 3 months. The consequences will last the rest of my life.